Welcome to the Thoughtful Leader podcast. My name is Ben Brearley. I'm a leadership coach and the founder of Thoughtful Leader. The Thoughtful Leader podcast is all about short, sharp leadership advice because thoughtful leadership is good leadership. Welcome to episode 324 of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about why sometimes you should look back to understand your past to be able to lead better in the future. So let's get into this topic right now. Now, you probably know that I'm a big fan of reflection, particularly structured reflection, where you take time to journal or answer structured questions on different experiences that have happened and then work out the best path to move forward. I'm a big fan of that, and I do that with tools like the Useful Thinking Journal. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But essentially, I'm a big fan of structured reflection to help you look back and then move forward with more certainty and confidence. And I believe that one of the best ways to lead better, the reason for this is because it helps you to understand yourself, and understanding yourself first is a great way to lead better. Now, just a distinction here, sometimes people get confused about the difference between things like coaching and therapy and mentoring and all those sorts of things. Well, just to make the distinction here, therapy is often known for looking back to your past and trying to fix things that are broken. Now, coaching is very much future focused. So in this episode, I will talk about looking backwards, not really from a therapeutic sense of things, but more so we can pull out some lessons, reflect on them, and then move forward with greater confidence. So I'm not a therapist, but yeah, I do think delving back into your past occasionally can be a great way to make sense of who you are and why you do the things that you do. So as I mentioned earlier, if you've seen my Useful Thinking Journal, you'll know that I think it's critical to take action and keep improving rather than dwelling on the past. But having said that, I still think sometimes thinking about the past and how it shapes you is still important. So in this episode, I'm going to take a look at the benefits of understanding how your personal stories can shape your future and why this can actually help you lead better. So to start with, you might be asking, well, why should I look back instead of just focusing forward? And just to reiterate, I don't think it's a great idea to spend too much time fixated on the past because it's actually been and gone. But spending the occasional reflection time to think about key events that shape us can be beneficial. Now, one benefit I've found is that it can help your values, reactions, behavior, and thoughts become clearer and make a lot more sense to you. And when these things start to make sense, you become a lot more forgiving of yourself. And this in turn can lead to greater self-acceptance, which is one of the cornerstones of being able to lead effectively, regardless of the personal style that you bring to your own leadership. Now, without this clarity of that greater self-acceptance I talked about, I find that people can struggle with self-doubt and feelings of inadequacy, such as, why can't I handle this? Oh, I'm such a failure. Or, we want to turn that into, it makes sense why I find this difficult. So what can I do about it? What can I change to make me more effective in this situation? So it makes our whole mindset a lot more constructive. And there's a related article that I wrote on why self-acceptance is a foundation for good leadership. So I'd recommend you checking that out. That'll be on the show notes page along with the Useful Thinking Journal link as well, thoughtfulleader.com/podcast/324. So I want to take you on a little bit of a story now about how I think self-reliance became one of my strongest values. Now, it probably didn't happen on just one example, but I think this is a good little story that illustrates what I'm talking about here. So let me recount a story from way back in my primary school days, which is about 40 years ago now. Now, I just started primary school and I skipped year 1 and headed straight into year 2. Now, why did I skip year 1? Well, because my parents had already taught me to read at home. So after the teachers at school tested me, the teachers thought that year one would be a bit of a waste of time, so I jumped straight into year two. Now, the implications of this is that it was actually quite hard because I didn't know anyone. And in fact, it was the first experience of school I had was going straight into year two. And the other kids in my class had already been together for a whole year, so they were sort of friends with each other already. Now, and I was a fairly shy and quiet kid, and it left me feeling a little isolated in the playground when I first started school. Now, I vividly remember that I was walking around the sand pit in the playground in my leather sandals at break time, and the strap on my left sandal came undone. And before this, I'd actually never attempted to do up my sandal straps myself because my parents had always helped me at home. Now, I was extremely anxious that people would think I was stupid for not being able to do up my sandals. So, with nobody else to turn to and being worried about speaking to other kids about it because I hadn't really got that friendships group yet, I attempted to do up the sandal strap myself. Now, it took a little while of struggling with this strap, but I eventually succeeded. And you can imagine the sense of triumph and relief when I realized I could actually do it myself and I actually didn't need to ask anyone else for help with this situation. And this is my earliest memory of feeling like I could accomplish things by myself if I put my mind to them. And that's when I believe that this value of self-reliance started to become really strong. So this may sound like a trivial childhood experience, but I think these sort of things really matter. And they matter because since that time, I've noticed that I try to consistently put myself in positions where I don't need to depend so much on other people. I try not to blame other people when things go wrong. Instead, I think about what I can do to improve. And when I do exercise, I do it mostly by myself. I do weight training at home, and I have my own set of weights which I use at home. And I don't rely on the gyms being open or they might be too busy. And so I'm reliant on, I can rely on myself and my own equipment there. I go for runs alone most of the time instead of relying on running with other people who might decide that they don't feel like it, for example. I also rehabilitated my torn ACL, my knee ligament, without surgery and still play sport on it at the moment. Now it's been about 5 years. And a physiotherapist helped me to do that. But once I had the rehab plan, it was entirely up to me to execute. And obviously I'm not to the point where I just try to fix everything myself. I do visit doctors and other professionals because I know my limits. But this self-reliance also means that at work, I would sometimes keep things to myself without asking for help from others. Sometimes I would potentially isolate myself rather than engaging with other people who could help or share the burden. And this can obviously be a big problem because leadership is not about doing everything by yourself. It's about encouraging a team of people to come along on a journey with you. And at home, this may frustrate my wife as well, who loves to be very helpful and supportive. And sometimes I refuse it, right? I just go, no, I can handle this myself. So the point is, it's extremely important to understand your strongest values. But importantly, it's also good to look at how they impact the way you show up at work and in life in general, because each of your values will have a strength associated with it, but they also have potential weaknesses which we need to look out for at the same time. And that's one of the reasons why I believe understanding your personal values is one of the most important foundations of good leadership. And I've spoken about this before. I've also got a short online course that helps you step through the process of understanding and using your values more effectively and taking out the practical implications of your values and what they mean to the way you lead and live your life as well. So I thought I'd share that little childhood story with you. It may not seem like much, but it is actually one of my earliest memories from when I noticed that I like to be able to take care of things myself and not rely so heavily on other people, which, as we know, has its drawbacks as well as its advantages. So as an example, I was once in a role where I had an admin person working for me as well as other leaders underneath me. And they always wanted to help me with things. And some of them I was like, well, no, I should take care of that myself. I don't want to burden other people with that thing. I'm self-reliant. I can do that work. But actually, sometimes people around you will want to help you. And in my case, self-reliance can sometimes stop them being able to assist because I take things on myself. So just an example. So I'm interested in your experience here. If you've done your core values work, which I hope you have done, and if you haven't, go get my online course because that's useful to step you through the process. If you've done your personal values work, have you done the work of thinking about the pros and cons of those values and how they impact your leadership? Because I can almost guarantee every value has a potential drawback as well as some key strengths that they bring to the table. So I'm interested in your thoughts on this one. What are some of your key values and what are some of the downsides of some of the values that you have as really strong values for you? So you can leave a comment on the show notes page, thoughtleader.com/podcast/324. I would love to hear what you think about this. Share some stories with me. I think it'll be really interesting to hear what you come up with. So jump on the show notes page and do that. Keep up the thoughtful leadership as usual, and I'll be back next week.